Most of the people who come to our studio come with the idea that they're going to spend between $200 and $300 to have a few pictures laid down on video with the song put behind it. When we show them what we can do with an animated life story of the child, their whole perspective changes. The video generally sells itself. It's a low-pressure sale. They come in, they have, as a rule, booked me to do the ceremony and reception, and they say, by the way, you know, we've seen these slideshows done, you know, these life story slideshows done. Can you do that for us too? And I say, sure, but I said, let me just show you something a little different. Tell me what you think. Instead of just taking photographs and putting them to a song, which is the standard fare, we will take not only photographs, but we encourage clients to provide us with old video of the child growing up. And then we will interview the parents, the siblings, grandparents, and a couple of the friends, people who are important in the child's life, put all that together along with some background music, and create a story of the child's life. I don't use a demo. I show them an actual 10 or 12-minute piece from start to finish, and I will tell you that it is pretty unusual that they don't book it. The whole idea here is to take the viewer through an emotional roller coaster ride, to have segments in there that alternate between being funny, profound, serious, and sentimental. The neatest thing about this type of work is that you don't have to advertise. We do no marketing. Given the opportunity, if they're shown what can be bought for a different amount of money, many of them jump at it. The person who hires you to do a $5,000 or $6,000 production, the odds are he's going to have people at his affair who are customers for $5,000 and $6,000 productions. Those are the kind of guys he hangs out with. Right. And what he's doing here is he, in a sense, is providing you a forum in front of all of, say, 300 of these people where this little 10 or 15-minute story is shown. It's not unusual at all for the client to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on one of these productions. And to have a video story, a short video story that chronicles the life of their child means an awful lot to them if it's done well.
What if I told you there was a magic machine to take your sky from this blue to this darker blue, to make things richer and more vibrant? Again, to go from here to here without affecting your foreground. You'd say, that's an amazing machine, I want to buy one. And you can buy one for about $15. It's just called a polarizer filter. Yet most professional videographers do not have these in their kit. Look at the difference here. You can really bring out the foreground by deepening the background, and the polarizer filter just screws on the front of your camera and will allow you to get this richer color in the sky, especially in midday without any clouds. So the polarizer filter does two things. Number one, it can richen your sky. Number two, it can cut down on glare. Look at this sign here, or look at this car. Nice reflection. It may not bother you, but again, look what you can do with the polarizer filter. And the way to get this effect is simply turn the filter until you see the reflection disappear. Or in the case of the blue sky, you would turn it until you see the blue sky disappear. If you're a professional advanced videographer, you really need to get a polarizer filter. They're about $15, at most $20, and they'll be well worth it on your camera.
You could have a few different scenes and then put them together in different orders and tell a totally different story. Let me show you what I'm talking about right here.
I'm going to show you 3 sequences all edited differently. The first one here has the girlfriend looking for a boyfriend. This is linear type of sequencing. She looks through the trees and she finds him. This is the linear, normal kind of editing that most people think of, but you don't have to do it in this particular order. You could do a sequence where we see our subjects first before we see our main character. So the viewer already knows what's going on before our main character starts looking. Same 3 shots except a different order. Now a third way you can do it is what I call the tension edit. You can start off the sequence with this shot. You see our main character and then you cut to the subjects, but they haven't seen each other yet until you see the third shot. Remember that creative editing is a powerful tool when used in addition to your camera techniques.
You have to be very careful when you're doing shooting, basically with skin tones. If you're shooting people in outside, make sure that you have some kind of a color balance that you are able to, if you can, set up on an overcast day. And even if you have a green area, make sure that the trees and the greens are framing back, but they are not reflecting the light directly to the person. Now, if you take the person under a tree and you start shooting the light from that tree, the greens are going to paint the person green. And then if it's a sunny day, that cast is stronger. And then on top of that, you got the blue of the sky. So you got a blue-green.
So if you're in the sun and you shoot into somebody in the shade, they're going to come out bluish.
That's right. It's the same thing in the winter, by the way. If you're shooting in snow areas, area cover of snow, and it's not in direct sunlight, and you're shooting in the snow in a shadow area is blue. It's not gray. It's blue. Yeah. And it's very disturbing. You shoot and then people look sick.
What do you do to make it look better?
Well, two ways. Number one, choose an overcast day where the blue is gone for most of it. You still are going to be having a little bit of ultraviolet problem, but you can color balance.
And if you can't shoot in overcast?
If you can't shoot in overcast, avoid solid shades, shadow areas for shooting. What you want to do is you want to get the subject with the back to the light so that the background is sunlit, and then just have a reflector and fill in, and then you got a complete warm tone or a balanced tone, and you get away from the blue from the sky, and that works very well.
Next up, Steadicam operator Jim Farrell to give you tips and techniques to use with any Steadicam.
Okay, well now when you're shooting talent with Steadicam, the talent has to adjust to the Steadicam just a little. What they're going to be doing is they wait for the Steadicam to begin to move, then the talent would move. When the talent stops, the Steadicam will just dolly to a nice smooth stop. Now you don't want to drag it way out and make some big huge thing, but you want to keep from that blamp, real quick stop. So here we're going to run through a quick run with this, and here's our talent here. When the director calls for action, then I go from there. Director calls action, Steadicam moves, the talent moves. The talent stops, the Steadicam goes to a nice smooth stop. Shooting with one hand is a must when doing a shot that requires running. Trying to be light on your feet and to keep the bounce out of your run. When shooting a spinning shot, you want to fill about 50% of the screen with your subject. Filling a large part of the screen with background that is moving can make your viewer nauseous, especially if the background is busy. The busier the background, the closer you should be to the subject.
You want to get really good at doing commercials. You want to really master commercials. I want you to get out your 6-hour tape and just record tons of recordings and go back and scan through and find commercials. I want you to copy that commercial. I want you to, suppose it's a commercial about Scott's Lawn Builder, Turf and Grass, and get a few people as your subject and shot by shot take notes. Do that actual commercial.
Here's a Mitsubishi commercial that was recently on TV. And you notice they use a lot of black and white and fast and slow motion combined. That seems to be popular. Now here's our commercial that was modeled after the Mitsubishi commercial, allowing us to see the techniques they use and to try to get better. We shot it on video instead of on film, so our production cost was a few $100s versus a big crew and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right now we're going to show you exactly how we did our version of the Toyota commercial. Obviously, it's not a new Toyota. That's a 1994, but it's really easy. You want to go to the split function of your nonlinear edit system and split the video into 3 parts. In this case, we took the first section, and that's a normal speed, and then we took the second section, which was going through the water, and we divided up our sections into 3 parts. And by doing this, we can have 3 different versions of slow motion. Now you can divide it up as many parts as you want, but what we did was we started with the normal version, and then we went to the slow motion version, and then we went up to the sped up version. And here we're going to render the fast motion part, which is the one at the end, and we'll do the slow motion part, which is the one in the middle. Once again, you can do 3 versions of slow, where you go slow, slower, slowest, or in our case we went normal, slow, and then really fast. And the trick is just divide up your scene to create 3 different scenes and have them in different motions, and then when you combine them together, they will play just like you see here, the fast and then the slow and then the fast again. Another important tool to have in your arsenal is a small mini digital camera and a flex arm. You can put these on anything and put them in places you wouldn't normally get. We just clamped it on the side of the car, didn't even damage the car, and videotaped the window, and we were able to get this shot right here. The flex arm we also bent in an opposite position to get the tire going down the street. Unmanned camera, and yes, it is safe on the flex arm, and you get this kind of shot right here. The key, of course, is, as I always say, is experimentation and creativity. We did a creative shot on volume 1, and that was this shot, and people wondered how we did it. A few people called it simply holding the camera out the window with a wide-angle lens. You don't even have to be looking through the viewfinder to get this shot. The important thing is creativity and practice, and I'm sure you'll do great making your own commercials. My challenge to you on one of your next wedding or reception events is to take people and place them in different areas that are visually more appealing. This is done in movies like Orson Welles' Citizen Kane or a lot of the classics, and it can make for a much better looking reception footage just by asking people the favor of positioning them in different areas. They may feel uncomfortable at first, but a few of these creative angles sprinkled throughout your video will look good. Instead of people just talking to the camera and having them look forward, just ask to rearrange them a little and position them. As you can see, the before and after here can make a really dramatic difference. It's not about higher resolution or better camera technique, it's about positioning people. And once the video gets done, nobody will remember that you positioned them. They'll remember the better look of it. One way you can improve the viewer's interest is to have your action come toward the camera. Your subjects actually move toward the camera. To give you an example, here's action neutral to the camera, where you have your subjects running to left to right. It's not bad, but let's look at a difference where we have action toward the camera. Here we go, the same scene, the same 2 guys. Of course, combining these shots can be used for great effect. Here's another shot, just straight up, left to right motion. It's not bad, but let's look at the same scene done with action toward the camera. Again, the camera's not moving at all. The action's coming toward the camera. Next time you're out shooting another video, give this a try.
One fun thing to do when you're staging a shot is to not only have the background out of focus, but have a foreground out of focus at the same time. And this way you're adding depth of field to your subject matter, and at the same time having the foreground and background out of focus, which allows the image to be concentrated on the subject matter at hand.
Here's an example of the foreground being out of focus, and the background we tried to get totally out of focus, but we couldn't do it perfectly. It's a scene with 2 people in a restaurant. Here's another shot with 2 people discussing something on the road, and we have the background cars out of focus. This shot right here is a shot we did earlier, and foreground and background again out of focus. Here's a scene where our subjects appear to be in a crowded restaurant, but the secret is in positioning your foreground and background actors. Here's a behind-the-scenes view.
Hey, Greg. Nick, I need you to back up a little bit. Just
Okay.
2-man action.
Yeah, now what I want to do is zoom in a little. Look at each other for a second couple, smile. You know, when they're doing professional high-budget movies and they have enough film, they shoot a scene 2 or 3 times. They'll shoot the master shot first, then they may shoot a cutaway and they'll shoot some close-ups and a couple different angles. If you have the time and certainly budget for this in video, it's certainly worth trying, because when you intersperse them later, you can add for a real nice dramatic effect. A lot of people start off in event video don't do this because they're sort of trained to capture documentary style, whatever they can get. But it's really well worth it to get a few shots movie style, where you get a master shot, then you go back at later and have people repeat the same motions and get the close-ups in there that you can then cut away to, and you can get a much more dynamic presentation. And by shooting the same thing 3 times, you're covered, and allows you to do a little bit more choice in the editing studio.
Here's the final scene compiled from Mark Shepard's instructional videotape on wedding love stories.